Flying to Disney World from the UK, the airport you choose could save you hours of travel time and even hundreds of pounds, but is Orlando really the best choice? Or should you consider Tampa instead?
Now my wheels in motion and my windows open with the wind blowing in my hair. I'm driving down the highway, gonna do this my way. I can feel it in the air. Here I go.
Hello and welcome to this week's Great British Mickey Waffle. So it's Wednesday night, it's 8:30 here in the UK, and we're so glad you could join us. So I'm Ben, with me tonight are John and Claire.
Hi, Ben.
Hiya, how are you?
I'm all right, not so bad.
I was expecting this week that everyone's back in the UK off holiday and we'll have like a full team, but it clearly, I think, with colds and everything else going on, clearly it's the Three Musketeers.
It's just it.
Yeah.
Do you know something? I think I said this last week, and I think it's one of those things. It's really difficult when you come back from a holiday that you've enjoyed so much, and you really do sort of you get back into that routine of home, and it's horrible. It's just not pleasant whatsoever. So
we were having a discussion earlier whether to put heating on or not, and it's like no, not yet.
We've had ours on. We succumbed, I must admit.
We put a jumper on. We put a jumper on. That's what happens when you're down south, John. It's
exactly.
Like, no,
exactly.
Not northern weather.
It's grim up north.
How are you, Claire?
I am okay. I've had a busy day. I've had a busy week. And I wasn't here last week because I had a busy week last week as well. So I apologise for not being here last week.
You missed a great show last week.
I listened.
You missed John ranting for an hour and a half.
Thing is, though, I didn't miss it because
I behaved myself last week.
I listened back on Friday when it dropped as a podcast. So
cool.
I did manage to listen to it, but I was at a thing, so I couldn't be here. But I'm all good. I'm glad to be here and talking about something that, as you said, Ben, at the beginning, can save you a load of money or improve your experience depending on where you're flying into. So,
and
or out of.
Yeah,
I think as well. Can I also add into it as well? Because actually, we do know that there are other airports within Florida that are equally.
We may touch on them.
And I think that's the other one as well. So, just sort of put it out there. It doesn't have to. It's not a direct sort of Orlando versus Tampa debate because actually, sometimes it could also mean a trip to Miami.
Yeah.
Or Melbourne. Or Melbourne.
Right.
Melbourne. If you booking with TUI, but I won't book with TUI, so
yeah,
I'm not going that way.
But I think it's one of those things that it's, and the reason why we chose this topic was because this year we went through Tampa for the very first time, and it has become Becca and I's favourite airport that we've ever been into.
After 6 years of me telling you, Tampa Airport is the best airport. And you go, yeah, we're going into Orlando. We're going into Orlando International because it's closer. And then, ta-da!
I agree. And I have to admit, we should have done it earlier. But I hate to say also next year, the two trips that we've got, or at least one of the trips that we've got booked for next year is already MCO. Yeah. So it's already Orlando. So it's one of those, you just got to weigh up the price and... Yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into this. But yeah, it's also welcome to everyone joining us live on YouTube. So it's great to see you joining the chat. So who have we got with us tonight? So I think first in, maybe before all of us, was Heather.
Yeah, it was Heather. Hi, Heather. Thank you for joining us.
Closely followed up by Wendy. Hi, Wendy. And we've got John from a remote office just outside of Tampa.
Hey, there you go.
He's been to Tampa 4 times this week.
Hey, there you go. You see. Also worth mentioning as well. I messaged John before we went out in the summer, and just the way things actually panned out while we were out there, we never got a chance to meet up. So I do apologise to you, John. I think you were doing one thing, we were doing another, and the paths never crossed. So definitely do it next time.
Yeah, and also we haven't seen him in the chat for a little while. Here's Neil. Hi, Neil. Hope you're well.
Is there no football on tonight?
There is loads of football on, but Man United aren't playing because it's a European night, and Man United don't do Europe anymore.
It's also Ryder Cup Eve. Just saying.
Yes. Yeah,
And that relates to our topic.
That just
when we talk about Tampa, I will bring it in.
Okay. So
I also think that the golf might dominate next week's show as well. So be warned.
Yeah.
Okay.
So tonight
we're going to tackle a really useful question for anyone in the UK planning a Disney World holiday. Should you fly into the tried and tested Orlando International Airport, or is Tampa actually the smarter choice? So it's something that could save you both time and some money to stick around because of breaking down the pros and cons of both airports. And there'll be talk of a flamingo at some point as well. Before we dive in, let's take a quick look at some of the latest news from Disney this week. And first news item we have is Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party. Dates 2025 and are all sold out. You can't get tickets.
That's quite impressive, isn't it?
Was it 6 weeks to go to Halloween?
Yeah, I think part of that problem, but this might sound a little flippant, the amount of parties that have been spoilt by rain, it's probably meant that anyone local has basically been rebooked into a future date. So that might be another little bit underneath it.
And I've noticed that Disney have been either not refunding tickets, but I think for the last night's party they got washed out and they were giving like automatic tickets. So to be used within 12 months. But Claire, as we spoke before the show,
that's great unless you're an annual pass holder.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to make use of it. But
no,
I can see it's a good thing from Disney's perspective to be able to do that without having huge queues of people going like, I want my money back for 3 hours. I've seen that in previous years.
If the other parties are sold out, then that's all they can do really, other than start refunding everyone. So I can see why you would give a day in any theme park, but there are a lot of people who that won't work for, who can't come back, you've maxed out the time that they're there, and
it's your lifetime. Well, you're only going this year, and you're not going for another 3 or 4 years.
Right, this is it. So I think as a gesture, it's a sensible one, but it isn't going to hit the mark. So it'd be interesting to see
the best option.
Yeah. But interesting that they're all sold out. I mean, I guess it's hit and miss with the weather, and it seems to be really wet again at the moment.
Yeah.
But you just don't know, do you?
And yesterday, I think this happened during the party as well. At 20/7, there was reports of power grid issues in Walt Disney World again.
Yeah. So that happened to us while we were there.
Yeah.
We were going to Epcot that day.
We were leaving, and I remember just driving through that storm.
Yeah,
and it was just like we left at the right time, but not the storm, but there was like power issues across the resort.
Yeah, we had been. I can't remember where we'd been, but then we were going into Epcot in the evening. Oh, we were at Chewy's having dinner, and then we were going in to watch Luminous. And when we arrived in the park, everything was still down. There was just nothing working. Yeah. There was no background music because we actually parked in. We parked at Universal. It felt like. Because the park was absolutely rammed. We were in the cast parking lot right across at the very far corner of I've never parked so far away for Epcot. And we arrived at about 7:00 and the park was heaving of very unhappy people because nothing was working. There was, as we walked in, I deliberately parked there thinking rather than going to a resort or something, because I wanted to walk in and watch the Beacons of Magic on Spaceship Earth, and the music and the lights by the fountain. And we walked in, there's no background music. We stood in the middle of World Celebration, and there was silence. It was really weird and eerie, and a number of things were not working as well as the music. So it was a very, very, very strange atmosphere.
What's interesting is it doesn't seem to be just stuck on a particular park, so it's not like there's one.
It's like the entire power grid for that whole Bonnet Creek area. Is
yesterday it started in Hollywood Studios, so it had things like Rise of the Resistance, Tower of Terror, Smuggler's Rundown, and Magic Kingdom. You had Space and Tron that were down. Epcot, Seas with Nemo and Friends. So it's I don't know. It's
logical. It doesn't make any sense. I guess somewhere someone needs to put 50 cents in the meter.
Yes, the hamster's fallen off the wheel. It's
Yeah.
it's one of those things that when you think that we've joked quite a lot this year, John, that a lot of things that Disney have done we can laugh at in compared to
Yeah.
like Universal, but actually it's one of those things. You this is your one day you're in a park, and unfortunately there's a storm that comes in. You don't know, you're not sure what to do.
But it's weird because the resilience for storms is good. You know, we've seen
and this has
hurricanes.
happened like twice in a month.
I have never known this before, where there's been a complete power outage and everything stops working.
Yeah, same here, Claire.
Never
And
been,
I think this is very possibly a sign of infrastructure that isn't actually working properly. Because actually, I remember
over time maintenance hasn't happened over the past few years.
There must be a core reason behind this, because actually, I think the day you were talking of, Claire, I think we were actually in the studios, and that basically the whole park just was
dead.
Nothing was open, and you just like okay, we want to stay inside, but we've got nothing. You know, basically you basically go shopping. And that's about it.
Do you know what it reminds me of when I first learned to drive, which was a very long time ago, and I had an original Mini, and anyone who's ever owned a Mini, the spark plugs and the alternator are right at the front of the engine behind the grille, and if I went through a deep puddle, the engine used to cut out, until I worked out that if I bought a rubber glove, cut the tips off the fingers and put the spark plugs through the rubber glove, and then the water couldn't penetrate. So maybe someone needs to find a rubber glove and find what it is that's getting wet and then cover it over somehow.
Fabulous.
Because
it's brilliant,
bizarre experience. And Wendy said she can't imagine being in Epcot without the music playing in the background.
Yeah.
Wendy, it was the weirdest thing, because like the World Celebration loop is my go-to if I'm working and I need to concentrate, and for me and Morgan actually too, because that's like his earworm from last summer. I will put on World Celebration loop, and that will help me to work. And to be stood in the middle and like where their nice seating is, and like the chargers and all of that central area near Walt, and there just to be nothing.
Yeah,
it was so strange. Cool, but not in a good way.
No, it is quite surreal, isn't it?
It's one of those experiences you want to have one day. Yeah. It's like you think of it in your mind, but then actually, like,
I know. In our planning for future shows, we've talked about soundtracks and background loops and various things. So I can say that they're needed. It's weird without them.
I can't imagine walking from country to country in Epcot and not getting the different sounds.
Yeah,
it's so strange.
And as I talk about Epcot, they've announced the dates and narrators for the Candlelight Processional.
Yeah,
they have.
So
bring on the Fonz.
I miss him by 2 days. I'm gutted. Honestly, I saw the days and I was like, I think I'm going to go on the 3rd of December, so I'll get Jennifer Garner, which is okay. But I was like, the Fonz. I want to see the Fonz doing the Candlelight. I'm so gutted. I come home on the 6th, and I think he's on the 7th and the 8th. And I'm just like, but I'm going to try and get a friend to go and film some of it for me.
Yes. It's a good idea.
Gutted.
And I think the last bit of news that I've seen was there has now been a tower crane to World Animal Kingdom for the new Encanto attraction, which is due to open in 2027.
I hope they've made it leopard print.
That's what it bends in. So I think you missed that last week when we were talking about like all the construction at Magic Kingdom, and like they've seemed to have got rid of Go Away Green. So
I think they've just
like
run out of paint, to be honest with you. There's so much of it needed.
I think as well, Ben, just pick up on that from last week. I follow someone on Twitter, is it Bio Reconstruct or something?
Yes.
Who has like drone photographs. The actual amount of background work that's now visible within Magic Kingdom has shifted considerably in the last week. So just to correct the record and to just sort of allay the fact that I did have a rant about it last week. Also in the chat, thank you, John Self. And he's also made a point about what we're talking about with Disney and the infrastructure and the electricity. He actually says it's not just a Disney-wide problem. It's also
we've had it at Universal
more often at Universal.
Maybe they need to build a new substation or something.
Yeah,
In 2016, the first time
Yeah.
we went to Universal Studios with the family, it was like, got tickets. As soon as we got the tickets and walked through the gate, everything switched off.
Yeah.
Oh,
No
I've-
rides were operating until
that's weird.
yeah.
I've genuinely never
It is-
experienced it in any trip to any of
Not-
the
not as
Orlando
often.
parks.
I've not known it
Until
as
this
often,
year.
as it's
Yeah.
happening just now.
Mm.
Ben, can also pick up on one other bit of news. I know it's on your list as well,
Oh yes.
but the Walt Disney World ambassadors were announced.
Oh, yay.
Now, it was such a lovely thing, but after the show last week, Mark Sheffield was in the chat quite considerably last week,
Mm-hmm.
but he sent me a document talking about the changes that are going to happen at Walt Disney World over the next 10 years. Right? Superb document. But he then carried the chat on, and he was involved in that ceremony with the ambassadors as well.
No way.
And the sense of pride that he had in actually being part of it, and actually looking on his social, some of the photos as well. And I just thought, you know, for as negative as I was last week about Disney, you actually see some of these core things. You know, when we talked about Grayson and Katie being given their legacy award, you look at these Walt Disney World ambassadors and how that brings a little bit more magic within that sort of family of people who are looking for a good story. And I just thought it was a lovely moment, and I just felt, I think I replied to Mark. I didn't get back to him until Saturday, which was, you know, sums my ability to get on social media very quickly, up to a T. But it was lovely, and I do appreciate Mark for doing that. And we are definitely meeting up the next time I'm out there, because I think we have a real.
You want to pick his brain, I know you do.
Yeah, very much so. But he also wants to pick mine as well, and I think that's the other side to it. I think he sees where I'm coming from on this sort of the retaining some of the old magic, but recognizing that things have to change.
Yeah.
And I think that was a conversation we were sharing, was the fact that you have to be aware that change has to happen, because actually if it doesn't, then you end up just being like Blackpool Pleasure Beach.
It's not a museum.
No, exactly. So
yeah,
but yeah,
I think we could cover that in a future show, and I think that could go with wider into Walt Disney World, not just Magic Kingdom. I think there's quite a few things that we've spoken in the past few shows that I think are going to lead into the next few weeks. But if you are enjoying the show today, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, as it does help YouTube and the algorithm find more people that are interested in Disney content. So here's the question for tonight, and up until our most recent trip, when we go to Walt Disney World, we would always book the flight to MCO. And I think a lot of that is to do with before when we were staying on site, we had the Magical Express, which would then you'd arrive at Orlando Airport, get on the bus, and they will take you to your resort. But obviously that's now gone. Yes, it's been replaced by sort of Mears Connect, but it didn't have the same magical feeling. So maybe it's something. So in 2025, is Orlando still the best choice when you're choosing the trip to Walt Disney World? With Tampa apparently 90 minutes away, depends on what route you take. Going through my experience,
it sometimes depends on which route you take coming out of Orlando as to how quick you can get there. Like, you know.
but which one gives you the better start to your holiday from experience and actually gets you ready for that time? So we want to hear from you in the chat today. Would you choose Orlando or Tampa? And let us know why. So Claire, as you mentioned earlier, you've been bugging me for years saying we should go to Tampa. So, and we finally did it.
So it's interesting because we ended up going into Tampa, probably I think the first time we did that was like 2016, 2017. And it just so happened that there was a massive saving on that route. And I think, you know, there are glitches and there are opportunities to find savings on all flight, you know, routes. And we found one to Tampa. And I really remember the first time we arrived at Tampa Airport, because obviously having been into Orlando International a few times, there's the carpet and then there's Hi, it's Buddy Dyer on the monorail and all of that stuff. And it really and the smell of Orlando International, I think anyone who's flown into it knows, you know, that atmosphere that you get. And I really remember going into Tampa and feeling it was different. but for me at that point, it was a really good different. The new, so they hadn't refurbished the whole of the main terminal building at that point to how it looks now.
Okay.
But I remember getting off the plane and we disembarked and we walked through the exit, we got off and we walked through, and there was a woman there saying hello to everyone and giving out to the kids, and I've still got it somewhere, a pencil with a little rubber, which is an aeroplane shape on the top, that said "Welcome to Tampa," and she gave one to Millie. And Millie was over the moon with this pencil and aeroplane rubber. And actually, I was thinking, my immediate reaction was, well, you wouldn't get that in Orlando. I think I said that at the time. And everyone was smiley and welcome. And we got to immigration, and it was a time where there was the booths and you had to do the thing and the fingers. And then you went to, someone got the X on the bit of paper and you had to go and queue up. And so we got to the immigration person, and they were nice. They chatted to us, they smiled, they were pleasant. There was a really different atmosphere in the immigration hall, where I think my experience until then in Orlando and also JFK had been really quite
abrupt.
I don't know, abrupt is fair. I think just really busy, efficient, professional. And it's not to say that they weren't busy, efficient and professional, just they did it with a smile. And that made such a difference when you've been on a 9-hour flight. And then we got through and our bags were waiting for us. And yes, they had the sniffer dogs that were cute, all of the stuff that happens. And there was just something different at Tampa. Yeah. And then we got the little monorail to the main terminal building. It was bright, it was sunny, it was airy, and it was clean. And it didn't feel like you were being funneled in with a million other people. So yeah, there was something about that experience. And then on the return journey home, we had a really positive experience where we checked in, dropped the bags, and then I said, knowing what it's like in Orlando, I said, how long will security take us? Thinking this is going to be like 45 minutes security. And she went, 2 or 3 minutes. I was like, what? And it literally was however long it took us to walk through a few switchbacks and then straight through. And it was such a lovely, friendly airport that it has since then remained. And I've flown into lots of airports in the US. It has remained my favorite airport in all of mainland America, definitely.
To be honest with you, Claire, and actually I'm going to put this out there because actually I think it's worth talking about, but the atmosphere in most places on that west coast of Florida, that I don't know whether it's because everyone is just chilled, friendly, and if you were ever thinking of going and exploring, and heading out to that west coast is the most amazing place. There's some amazing beaches, some amazing islands, and you get an absolute welcome no matter where you go. And I think that really needs to be made apparent to a lot of people who you kind of get shrunk into that. I'm going to Orlando, I stay there and I don't move on anywhere else. Can you say a quick hello? I know Simon N has joined. Simon.
And Kenny's here as well.
There you go. Kenny's been texting me after night, so I had to stop. He's probably remembered it's Wednesday. It's 8:30, and that's why he hasn't replied. But Simon has been out in Orlando the past couple of weeks and actually was very much Universal based. And I've not seen him or his daughter to discuss how they got on at Epic. However, they had the nightmare flight home. Somebody was poorly on their flight, and they got diverted to Iceland. Thankfully, the Virgin staff were absolutely incredible, and I think the amount of messages that were actually on Facebook about people complaining from Manchester Airport that the afternoon flight was going to be late. And then people are saying, well, actually, somebody needed CPR on the flight, and they actually emergency landed, and actually the cabin crew were very, very close to run out of hours. And it was touch and go, but they managed to get back to Manchester in time. And just again, just
You
one
hope
of
the
those things.
person's okay, don't you?
Yeah.
But yeah, and they were.
It's also something you don't think about happening on a plane, and you're not sure how
Yeah.
to deal with it until you're in that
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
I can imagine from a cabin crew, they might prepare for all these things to happen, but until something like that happens.
I think it's a really interesting conversation for a future show, because we've been on the plane. We're on our way to New York actually, and the infamous, is there a medical
Is there a
doctor
doctor on board?
Yeah.
It's a
Obviously,
ridiculous.
Dan is a doctor, and
Yeah.
I looked at him and he went, "Shut up," and I was like, and nothing happened. So he sat tight, and then they asked again. I said, "Dan,
you've got to do it."
And actually, the infrastructure that surrounds medical emergencies in the plane are really fascinating. So we can talk about that in the future. The person who wasn't very well on our flight was actually okay. Dan did give some advice. They have connection to a ground crew and a ground doctor, and everything was fine. He had some aspirin, and things were good. But the crew was so grateful for our help, and actually gave us a couple of bottles of champagne to take off with us at the end. And
oh, cool.
So it does happen, but hopefully not to the extreme of needing CPR. That's really scary for whoever that is in their family. So I'm glad that person's okay.
But Claire, I would also say the way that it was dealt with was absolutely exemplary, not just for the patient who was
everybody else on board as well.
Yeah, whisked away to hospital, but everyone on board was kept up to date with exactly what was happening.
Gosh.
And I
Horrible.
think that is one thing that you really do know, that some certain airlines when they don't get it right, and they just dump you in the middle of nowhere, as has happened with a certain airline that I've mentioned earlier.
That you won't book with, yes.
That I won't book with and won't fly to Melbourne with. Yeah. They've had a different example where they'll dump people, and actually the treatment of people is completely
just leave them to sort it all out themselves.
It's wrong. So
anyway,
again, I know I digress, but I actually felt it's worth talking about, because it goes alongside one of the key things that you're looking for, and it's like which airlines actually fly
where?
And when you fly into Tampa, and one thing that we've also flown, like you said, Claire, around the US quite a bit over the past few years. We've been to Los Angeles, we've been to New York. There's a few places we've gone through to get to Orlando and get to the States, but it's only 45 minutes longer in the flight time.
Actually, we found that almost sometimes it's quicker to go to Tampa than it is to go into Orlando, because you're not circling and waiting. So what I've noticed is that
most of the times that listed, we landed just about an hour and a quarter earlier than the scheduled time.
That's exactly what I found with Tampa, because it's not, there aren't tons of international flights. So there's certainly not loads of flights coming from Europe. Actually, the landing process is much more efficient, because they aren't trying to juggle thousands of flights every hour. So I've certainly experienced that. There, it's actually been quicker to fly to Tampa, and also the fact that where it is in Florida, they are less likely to be affected by late afternoon storms, because they're on the coast. So actually you fly past that and then you land, rather than trying to find a window where you can get through the storm to land in Orlando. So but there are benefits to flying into Tampa, and I think apart from the human element of finding a really friendly airport, which is nice to experience, I think sometimes because people don't think about it, there is often a cost saving. And we've, apart from next summer where I've been looking at it, and I think people are, because we're like people are us are talking about it, the prices aren't that different.
And I found this when we booked last year, because we booked using miles. So there was a bit of an availability issue we had last year. And then Virgin were changing how many miles you needed to get. But we booked before all of that. But what we noticed was that Orlando was about 20,000 miles more expensive than Tampa, because most people, if you're going to book, especially a miles flight, you're going to go for the closest to where you want to be. So if you're going to want to be at Disney, people are going to look for Orlando first, and then we just looked at Tampa. And for the cost that we spent we managed to get upgrade to premium, the same cost it would have been if we stuck with Orlando for economy.
So I think it's really important that somebody in the chat said, Heather said, is there transportation from Tampa to Walt Disney World? So Heather, the short answer to that is no. There is no Mears Connect bus. There is no public transport that you can book. Yes, you can get an Uber if you're brave and you're going to sit and wait for someone to take you back to Orlando. I don't know how frequently people do that. I think if you're going to fly it from us, if you're planning to go up to Orlando, then and you're flying into Tampa, really having a car is the solution. The drive is about an hour and 10 minutes. I've done it in just over an hour. I've also done it in an hour and 45, depending on the traffic through Tampa and what time you land. But effectively to Walt Disney World, it's about an hour and 10-minute drive.
Yeah.
But based on the fact, if you were to take an average time allowance, so if you're flying into Orlando International, land at the A or B gate, stand in the queue to go through immigration, which for us is an issue. It might not be if you're from mainland US, or you're doing an indirect flight and you've done immigration somewhere else. It might not be so much of a problem. But if you're flying
you still have to wait for your bags at a certain point in a certain terminal.
Yeah, and they might be wet when they get there. But it can take an hour to an hour and a half to get through Orlando International. Whereas in Tampa, by the time if you were to go to then the Mears Connect bus and wait for your bus, you're then going to wait there and for someone else to wait for the bus, and then everyone else get on it and get to your resort. My experience is in Tampa, you land, you get off the flight, you go through immigration in about 15 minutes, even without the NPC app. Your bags are usually waiting for you by the time you got out. They're not wet because it hasn't been storming. You can get to your rental car in about 10 to 15 minutes. So within about 45 minutes of getting off the flight, disembarking the plane, you're in your car on your way.
We were in the car in 45 minutes from getting off the plane. We had
and then it's an hour drive, hour and 15-minute drive. It's actually sometimes works out quicker to fly to Tampa to get to your resort than it does to fly into Orlando, which makes no sense at all.
We went through like 4 or 5 different storms, unfortunately, that evening when we landed. But
you landed quite late, didn't you?
We did. Well, actually, only 6:30.
So were you the storms as you were driving into Orlando, or were they?
Yeah, there were storms going. Yeah, there was so once we got into Tampa, it was dry, but in the distance you could see the storms that moved through Tampa and were heading towards Orlando.
That bit of road, it's not the most interesting piece of road to drive along.
No.
But it's functional.
I'm just glad I found cruise control on the car, and I was like, good. I was like, and the thing is, it is literally just a straight road. I've got a map here.
Yeah, you can't go wrong.
So it is literally, if you can see that on your phone.
You really can't go wrong.
No.
Unless you go the wrong way out the airport.
But there are 2 signs.
In Orlando as well.
There are 2 signs that say 275.
Yeah.
And it was like, without any sat nav, north and south, got them confused. But it was quite pretty with the sun setting, and it was good.
Yeah.
But in comparison to like Orlando, it says 19 minutes.
I have never done it in 19 minutes.
No way. Yeah.
Nope. This must be Google in the middle of the night. But
So, no,
it also depends on where you're getting to in Walt Disney World, because Walt Disney World is quite large. So
and also depends if you go the north or the south exit out of MCO. So I've done
what terminal you're going into as well.
So I've done Terminal C, south exit to Coronado in 23 minutes.
Yeah.
But that's the quickest I've ever done it. And that, that was going down the expressway, which is apparently unironically named.
What I also liked, going to Tampa, we didn't have to pay any tolls.
No, there's no tolls.
So Orlando, we had to pay tolls. So that's another thing to think about. That you just don't have to think. It's just, and when you're using your phone as your sat nav, just put avoid tolls and whatever route it takes you. I don't
worry about the tolls. I'll deal with it after I get back.
Is that because Dan pays for it?
It just gets charged to a card about a month later, by which point I've forgotten about it and it's happened. I just can't be bothered.
Yeah. It's one of those things to worry about. It's like John's completely disagreeing there.
No, John's like, get my visitor toll pass for $10, hang it on my windscrring. I'm gonna get my money's. Yeah.
But that's only in Orlando. That's
you can't do that. But that's because there aren't any in Tampa.
Yeah.
Yep.
There we go. Mark Sheffield's now in the chat. There you go. Hi, Mark. You'll need to go back and see what I said. I did speak highly of you earlier in the show. You're all right. I'm going to try and balance this out a little bit, because actually from experience, we went through a long time of flying indirect. Simply because it was mad. It was so much cheaper back in the day. And actually, I can't complain about it. I can't grumble about it. That was our choice. It was the money saving thing. However, having experience going direct, I think the first time we had flights paid for because we got bumped off a flight in Atlanta with Virgin, and we went direct the following year, which was very pleasant. But last year we went actually direct into Orlando for, I think, possibly only the second time. And to be honest with you, it was a game changer. You actually land mid-afternoon. It changes your holiday. You get an extra half a day there. If you get the late flight out, you get an extra whole day at the end of your holiday. And I wouldn't go any other way. And actually, I think the Orlando experience, I love Orlando Airport. I just think it's one of those iconic places. I think one year we actually stayed at the airport hotel. I remember going swimming after we'd arrived. And so obviously the thinking was we could save on a day's car hire because we were going to the beach the following day. We could also enjoy a few drinks on the plane. So you go for a swim and you've got that smell of airline fuel in the air. And it was just like, it was the most lovely thing. You've just landed off a flight and you're swimming about half an hour later. And you're just like, this is absolutely superb.
You just get a moment where you feel when you know you're on holiday. It's just like you've landed. But
I've never thought of staying at the airport.
Actually,
no, we haven't. And Claire, it's a brilliant place to stay. It is one.
We have thought about staying there if we were going on like the cruise the following morning.
Yeah.
But then we looked at the price of staying there more recently, and it's like actually it's cheap to go stay somewhere like Disney.
Cheaper,
yeah, it was cheap to stay like at Box Entry or Coronado than it was to stay at the airport, and then so.
It was.
But
brilliant.
John, I agree. No. I do love MCO as an airport. But I think that's through just experience over the years that's what my Florida holiday is. So, like you said earlier, Claire, about like Buddy Dyer, it's one of it's just something that just
one of those moments.
It's one of those part of the trip.
And actually, anytime we go to another airport and we get on a monorail, even at Gatwick, and we get on and it's like, and they're like, "Where's Buddy?" It's not the same.
No, it's not. The other one as well, which is really stupid, right? And this is one of the daft things about Orlando Airport, is that when you land, your first thought is when you get the carpet, photo carpet, put it on Instagram, and it's like, we've arrived. And it's just like, it is the most easily identifiable bit of carpet known to mankind.
But not if you fly into Terminal C.
See, they've spoiled it, you see.
There is no carpet.
They didn't have enough rolls.
They've run out. It's out of production.
Yeah, I won't be going to Terminal C with British Airways then. I'll be...
So I've been into MCO a lot of times, and actually I'm flying into there in December. I'm flying into there in May next year, and I'm going on my own. So actually, I think I have got a car at Christmas, but I may not get a car next time. And actually, because I fly BA, when they've now opened Terminal C, it is a really different experience for me. I used to get really frustrated by, particularly going home, the security line at Terminals A and B, when you've got global entry, and even that's rammed, and it's saying projected wait time at security is like 90 minutes. I'm just like, are you actually having a laugh? Because there isn't that much to do when you go through security. And it's really weird. Not. It's the opposite to a UK airport. So for our American friends, when you fly in the UK, there's nothing before security. You go through security and then you've got everything. There's lots of restaurants. There's lots of, there's bars, there's shopping, there's like seating, there's loads to do. And it's the opposite way around in the US. So you go through security and it's like this barren wasteland. And you're like, what am I meant to do now? I've got 3 hours to kill.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think Terminal C for me is, it's really clean. It's very efficient. I don't know who decided that you have to walk through the car park to get to the other terminal. That's insane. But it's not particularly logically laid out, but it's functional. And I like the fact that it is separate and it is quite quick. I found that the whole collect your bag first before you go through immigration, it means that there is this. So people who haven't flown into Terminal C still do that like route march, and it is a good 10 to 12 minute walk from the plane to the bags. And people, you see them, particularly from business class, front of premium, like proper jogging through the airport to try and get their back. Right? It's like, got to get to the front of the immigration queue, doing the Disney run first thing in the morning. It makes zero difference because actually everyone's going to wait for their bags anyway. So you see all these people that have gone running
just
past
because their bags might be off first, but
they're not going to be, because you're going to wait 15 minutes before they get anywhere near the baggage belt anyway. So by that point, everyone from the back end of the plane has joined the line as well. So it makes no. So actually, when we flew in the summer, Millie and I sat in the back of premium, and I was like, "This is great because A, we can recline all the way, and B, it makes no difference whatsoever to our bags because we're going to have to wait for them anyway." And the other thing I love about the bag, this is so sad. It's the schadenfreude of this I love. So the baggage carousel that tends to be 66 or 67 for a UK flight, where the bags come out, the carousel goes clockwise. So it travels, the bags come out and they go clockwise, which is the opposite to most places in the UK. They tend to go anti-clockwise. And there's like a barrier where they come out so they don't fall off and hit people. And then they travel to the left. And you watch all these people get off the plane from the UK standing on the right-hand side of the barrier because they're expecting they're going to be right in the front. I have a whole thing about men waiting for bags and standing there with their hands in their pockets with their arms folded and like jostling each other out. And like, it's like testosterone city. It drives me mad. But especially at that point, and they've all queued on the right-hand side, and I'll just saunter past and stand on the left and be like, okay, yeah, you carry on. And then the bell starts, and there's like this mass swarm of people moving. It's hysterical. I love that moment. That makes me smile.
I was going to say, in Tampa, the experience we had when we got through the MPC app, and it was pretty much was like, briefly show us your passport, and like in we go. And it was like the huge queue of sort of people right as soon as and it was like, oh, just from as we were walking towards, we just saw one after the other, our 4 cases come out, and it was like, good, there we go, and off we go.
Yeah. So I think the benefit of Orlando is it's a large hub. There's lots of flights going in and out of there. There's lots of options if you want to book in direct with lots of different airlines. You can fly into Atlanta. You can, I think. The transport options
trip as well. If you're doing like, I don't want to do a few days in New York and then head down to Orlando, that's more likely to happen.
Or you're going to the cruise terminal.
Yes.
Like you said, Ben, if you're going off to Cape Town or
Fort Lauderdale for the Dizzy Destiny.
You're going up to Daytona or over to Vero. Actually, Orlando International is going to be a better place for you. But equally, if you're going to go to Clearwater, St. Pete's, or even down to Naples, Tampa might be a better plan.
Undoubtedly. I think that's the joy of this, because actually this goes back to something I think we've spoken about for years. And it's that bit of one, everything's always cost driven, certainly in my house.
Yeah. And
if you can save a few quid, we've been to Miami a couple of times and traveled from Miami and driven up on the same day, purely because we actually saved some money. It was one year we went indirect, I think via Washington and then into Fort Lauderdale, because they and I've no idea why we ended up going to Fort Lauderdale. I don't even think that Delta even.
I have this vision of John and his family getting off a plane in Washington and like canoeing down to Fort Lauderdale.
It's just
because it's cheaper.
Yeah. I know we've done all kinds, Claire, and actually,
but actually that makes your holiday though as well. Not only do you save money, but it's a different way of doing your holiday, and it isn't just you're doing the same thing going to Orlando, doing the same thing. And actually, by Disney not having the Magical Express, it made us look at like, oh well, we can get a different way to how do we get to the resorts. So with Uber now, we use a car all the time because it's better. Which is also something else that Claire and John have told me for the last 6 years that we need to do.
Eventually he listens.
Just
watch this space, people. All the things that we've told him.
I was already talking about the other week about getting a villa. So,
all right.
Yeah,
There
it
you go,
happens.
Claire. He does listen to us eventually. That's it, you know.
Yeah.
I think one of the other things,
Yeah.
Ben, and I think this is also pertinent to actually the conversation, because actually I talk about going indirect. We were paying basically a less than half of what a direct flight was.
Yeah.
That was the saving that was to be had, and that was
Yeah.
before 2019.
Yeah.
The savings are no longer there, and that's the bit that's really frustrating, because actually, if you were only paying £400 for a family of 4 for an indirect flight, I would do
goodness.
that every day of
Yeah.
the week,
Yeah.
as opposed to paying
I would too.
£900,
Pounds
£1,000
each.
to
Yeah.
go direct. I would always do it, because actually it made sense. I would still do it now, even without the kids, because actually I think the saving would then pay for your Disney ticket, and then you would do that. But airlines have kind of got a little bit wise, and they've probably got a little bit more sort of secure in their own ticketing arrangement, because they realize that people actually want to still go to the same place, so we just charge them the same price. And
Yeah,
I can see why, but
and it's interesting, because a lot of people now are looking at booking for next summer. I was talking to a friend of the show, Adam from Devonshire Diz, yesterday, and he's got price for family of 4 with British Airways next year, £6,500 NCO.
Yeah. I can concur with that, because we're looking at.
Yeah,
but that's probably, Ben, because it's only this week, I think, that most of the August have only just come out, and this is the bit where
Virgin haven't released theirs yet,
No,
so
you have to sit tight. Just
it's
wait,
3,
watch.
and just be a little bit calm, and just don't pay any more than you really feel comfortable.
Refresh.
But there was another thing that come from it as well. He looked up Norse to fly to Norse, because with Norse, it's you get a basic ticket, and then you add on the luggage, you add on the extra bits that you want, and it come out as 4,200 for the same dates.
Yeah, we looked at Norse.
So it's interesting, and I have to. We flew with Norse, 2022, I think it was. And
I remember that.
Like, they are the same as Virgin.
So interestingly, we had a conversation last night, because we looked at the flight with Norse, and I was like, look, there is a saving there, and I'm the sort of person that's prepared to be a bit cheeky, so I fully intend to get a competitive price with Norse, and then ring up BA and say, look, I'm a BA Gold Card member. Are you really going to let me go and fly with another airline, or are you going to price match for me? That's what I'm going to do, and see what happens. They can only say no.
You know what?
See,
who
knows? Who knows what might happen?
And this is the thing: there are different ways of booking flights, so it isn't just about using. I've mentioned about using miles. We booked our trip in January. We've got it as a package. So with this one, it was actually cheaper to book with Virgin Holidays, and we booked it with.
You booked it with a Fly Drive package?
No, we just booked it directly, the whole package, the hotel, everything. And for the whole week, including hotel, it's like £1,400.
So we've had that before, where it ended up being cheaper to book a package with a hotel that we actually then didn't use
with the flights.
Than it was just for the flights. So I think Wendy has asked that is Tampa a bit smaller than MCO? Yes, Wendy, Tampa is a bit smaller.
It's smaller and easier to get around. And
I think when you look at the facilities at Tampa, like the car rental building is really efficient. It's a separate building, a bit like Miami, actually, where they've got their separate car rental facilities. Which is different to, obviously, Orlando. It tends to be in the ground floor ground floor, and then you've got the garage outside. But in Tampa, you get on a little monorail to get to the car rental building. That's a great fun ride. It is. Make sure you hold on to your bags, because they will be down the other end of the monorail. It's really funny, because it goes slowly, then it goes around a corner, and then it just goes so fast, and you're like, oh, hang on.
Brilliant.
But the car rental building is really efficient. It's got all the normal car rental things, and the garage is usually pretty well stocked. I've not had a problem with the car availability there at all. And I think that the restaurants that are available at Tampa is one terminal at Tampa, and there's in the terminal building, there's a PF Chang's, there's a Hard Rock Cafe, there's a Wendy's,
options.
There's all sorts of things. And as I mentioned earlier, being Ryder Cup Eve, there is also a really, really good PGA Tour shop for anyone who likes golf. And I remember because
That's it. That's sold it completely.
it's
That's it.
amazingly well stocked. And I'll be honest with you, John, at this time of year, probably lots of red shirts. They do have a few navy ones in there because I remember buying my dad the European tour, the Europe shirt when we were there one summer. It's a really great store actually, and they've got a few different stores in the terminal building. I really like it because it's there's not a huge. I say it's not a huge amount of security, but that's the same anywhere. So but then I quite like Terminal C. There's a really good summer house restaurant. There's a couple of good shops. There's what's it? Wolfgang Puck bar. Oh no, it's a Wine Bar George in the middle. And then the lounge at the premium lounge at Terminal C. It's not the best lounge. It's not going to be like your Virgin Clubhouse or anything like that. But the food in the lounge, if you order hot food from the bar, it's infinitely better than what you would get down in the concourse, and it's so much cheaper. And if Will's behind the bar, then say hello from me because he is awesome.
There's just something about Tampa that we've flown to Terminal C a couple of times because Norse goes into Terminal C and once, and it was interesting. Our experience. We had issues with bags when we're leaving Terminal C, but coming back, it was perfect. It was the queue for security was nowhere near the queue that you got.
We had no queue at all this year when we came home from Terminal C.
Joe, we've missed a trick here tonight. Like what we should have done, right, is we should have got
tweeted Tampa Airport.
We should have tweeted them because actually
we will do. Let's do it.
Their social media is so
it's
good,
brilliant,
right? Because actually we've been the best advert for Tampa.
I'm totally, but I think
to a British audience that I think they've ever had.
And the
I
best
always
thing,
tweet them.
The best thing for their social media is they have a flamingo. Phoebe, the flamingo.
Phoebe.
Yep.
So Phoebe wasn't there the first time I flew into Tampa, but she obviously appeared a few years ago. And she's such a great photo opportunity. She's amazing. And she is enormous.
Yeah, it's huge.
I'll balance that with the Traveller at Orlando as well. Because as a piece of art, I absolutely love that, and it's our go home picture.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of them things. As we're going home, there's a lid shop right next to it, so we always go to lids. Any leftover beers that we have, we bring a beer to have before we get through security, and we'll sit and have our last American beer.
With the Traveller.
It's just and that's what it is. This is all about
what suits you.
But it doesn't matter what airport you're in. You build up your own ritual, and
it's your own experience, and it's the only things that make you go back to a particular airport.
Yeah,
and I think that's the things that the more I think about it, the more I enjoyed the experience of Tampa.
What is it about Tampa that you liked?
It's the efficiency. The amount of time that it took, because I thought, it's going to be dark by the time we get out because I know it was a later flight than what we would normally fly into Orlando. Then I know we've got to go and get the car, we've got to get the bags, we've got to sort all of that out, then drive to the boardwalk. So we were thinking originally we weren't going to get this 10 o'clock. But actually, we landed early. It was so efficient. Within 40 minutes, we were just sorting out the car hire. We had to go to the desk because we were there so early that the app wasn't working. Yeah. The car was there, but they were just wanting to do the upgrade. So, and you couldn't with Sixt. It only opens 30 minutes before.
Okay.
So when you land 30 minutes before, you can then go straight to the garage.
Okay.
But that delayed us a little bit, and then we got lost because the sat nav wasn't working. But other than that, it was like
user error rather than the airport.
Yeah. And the drop off back to Sixt and the car rental place was brilliant. It was incredible, and it was just so easy, so efficient.
Do you know something, Ben?
It reminded me all the times that I've been to Orlando and gone we always prepare at least an extra half an hour to an hour on top of that time that we'd taken us in Tampa, because and sometimes we just get to a point once we've queued up for immigration, gone through then got the bags and then got the monorail across. We're both just exhausted by that point. Yeah. Where with this, it felt so much quicker that I was like, actually, no, it's been a good flight. It's been a good experience at the airport. I'm happy. I'm actually happy on the holiday. Where the last few times I've been to Orlando, it's like, yeah, I'm here, but I'm just tired because of the airport.
Yeah, I've just made a little note. I think we need to revisit a little bit of car hire at some point in the future, because I know you mentioned about Sixt, who I think this year have been very competitive price wise and things like that.
I'm pricing up Hertz and Sixt for January, and to be honest, for a week at the minute, it's either 150 quid or 200. For either one.
That makes sense. I did a car with Avis in December, so 6 days, and it was 100 I think it was 160, but then I used Avios to pay for it. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say, because you normally, if you're going with BA, you will also
get Avis,
get your car through Avis as well. So again, I put it on my list for the future.
Put it on your post-it note.
There's nothing better than a little bit of car hire discussion.
And also,
you see us through the winter, Hertz, isn't it? Like,
I do have a few discount codes, depending on what card you decide to pay on.
Oh,
so. I think when I think about the difference between Orlando and Tampa, apart from the distance, and actually that doesn't really make a lot of difference.
No.
There is something about the brightness and airiness of Tampa Airport, which is similar to Terminal C at Orlando. I think compared to, like, yes, you've got the massive concourse in Orlando when you go in, and it's AB, and you've got the hotel, and you've got the Starbucks, and you've got the carpet and everything. You know, it's really everyone can picture it in their mind. There's something about Tampa which is just this. It feels, I don't know whether it is, it feels super clean because the floor is white and it's a little bit sparkly, and the whole lot of brightness and lighting that they have just makes it feel a really warm and welcoming environment, but super clean. And the people, I found the people, and this isn't to say that the people who work at Orlando International are horrible, but
excuse me.
I think I've said before, I have an issue with if I'm queuing to go through security, and yes, you get your passport checked, and then you go in that other line, and you're going through, and there are always Muppets who don't read the signs.
Or listen to what they're being told.
Right. But I am a grown adult. Please do not shout at me. I do not need you screaming in my face to remove my shoes, or you just don't need to do it. Whereas that has been my experience at Orlando, unfortunately, far too many times. Not necessarily at me directly, but in general. And I understand why they do it. It's their job. They're trying to get people through quickly, and there are always people who do not listen. So that's the option. My experience at Tampa is that people there are so much more, like we said at the beginning, a bit more laid back, a bit more relaxed. The atmosphere is like, come on through security. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're still doing the same job.
Yeah.
But it's just a nicer experience.
And it just is.
It was incredible because in Tampa, they've only just had the new scanners put in. So you leave everything in your bag. You keep
that's the same Terminal C. Everything stays in.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. And
there is something where people, a smile, it sounds so childish, isn't it? A smile goes a really long way when you're tired, stressed, anxious, whatever it is. If someone's pleasant and smiles at you, you feel reassured, or you feel welcome. And my experience at Tampa is that is the normal, whereas I'm surprised when it happens to me at Orlando International. So, I start going, is it wind or is that really a smile? Are they laughing at me? Whereas in Tampa, I feel like they're glad that people are coming through the airport. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. It might just be my idyllic view of the world.
I've just seen Simon's comment, actually. This is interesting because there are not many places from the UK that you can fly to Tampa. So you can't go from Manchester. You have to go from London.
Okay, I suppose then that's the difference, isn't it? I'm looking at it as very conveniently in the southeast.
We're down in the southeast.
We can go from Gatwick or Heathrow, and the options are available.
So it's one of those ones that if the price is that much different, do you incorporate that into your holiday, the way you do it? Like we mentioned about indirect flights.
Do you go via Paris?
Do you go via London, or actually do you go to London and then
I think
drive down,
Simon's
and
got a
then-
really good point there, and I think that's something that, like, we've done different trips. So to use Manchester as a northern hub, because to get to Heathrow or to Gatwick is an absolute pain.
Yeah.
Although getting to London on Friday when we went down for one of Joe's gigs, it took us 10 hours to drive to London because they shut the M1. Now, if you're going for a flight, that really would set your anxiety level to such a level that you just wouldn't be comfortable.
We want to go to Manchester to get cheap flights with Aer Lingus, and I have to admit that was with driving up the day before Christmas Eve.
Yeah,
and
see, I would consider flying Aer Lingus via Dublin, definitely.
Yes,
I mean, we did the old boomerang flight once, which saved
tons
of money. Can't do that anymore, sadly.
Yeah.
But yeah,
it's an interesting one, and I think it takes a bit of planning. Which do you just sacrifice your experience you get from a UK airport to experience that, and then actually?
I think the core. I was going to say the core of what we're talking.
There's loads of stuff in it.
Yeah,
there's loads of stuff in this, and again, does it come back to price? That's my other question.
It does. I think that's the bottom line, John. And the core of what we're talking about is the fact that there are lots of different options. So rather than going, I can only fly to Orlando, actually, you can fly to Miami, you can fly to Tampa, you can fly, but you might need to change your exit airport, your departure airport, to be able to take advantage of any deal. And what does that cost financially and time mean at either end? I heard, I was listening to a podcast earlier this week where someone chooses to fly with TUI from Newcastle to Melbourne rather than drive to Manchester to get a Virgin flight because of the fact that when they get home, they want a 20-minute drive home to their house rather than a 4-hour drive. And so I think it's whatever works for you as a family. So for me personally, if I'm going on my own, the nearest airport to us is Gatwick, so BA makes sense. Plus my, status with BA. But I wouldn't be adverse to driving to Heathrow and flying with Virgin if I got a good deal. And that's what, and this is where we are at the moment, because we're looking at flights for next summer. So we are investigating, can we fly BA from Heathrow to Miami? Can we fly Virgin Heathrow to Orlando? Actually, we're probably going to be going 2 separate trips. 3 of us will be going for 1 period of time and 2 for another period of time. And what's the mix in that? So we are actually looking at exactly this drama at the moment of where's our best deal going to be. We looked at indirect and where are we going to make
add a car as a fly drive, because sometimes that makes a huge impact on the price.
How can I guess? How can I possibly second guess how much a car hire is going to be in 12 months' time? I can't. So do you take a punt and then put a deposit down on the flight and the car hire because there goes as a package and you only have to pay a deposit, and then see how things pan out, which tends to be my approach. Just secure the price that we think is reasonable, and then we can review it in the future and cancel it if we need to. Yeah. But this is exactly where I am at the moment. So this conversation tonight about there are so many different variables and options. Welcome to my world.
But that's the fun part of it. And that's
get a deal.
And actually, it's worth putting out there again. Going back to what Simon said earlier, is the fact that even if you're going from Manchester, you can actually go with Lufthansa and fly into Frankfurt on a connection that'll take you into MCO.
And it might be cheaper to go the wrong way and back again.
And in the past, we've actually done that. One time in the past, I think we went out with United into an American airport, but on the way back we came back via Miami on an Air France into Paris, and then Paris into Manchester. And
my life.
And actually, when you start looking at journey time, that's another thing to consider.
Do you want it to be 9 hours or 19 hours?
It's like listening to race across the world.
That would be an amazing episode. We should totally do that as a virtual episode. Race to Orlando.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
That's a podcast for the future.
I think it's on the poster. That would be cool, because actually, and again, when the savings were such, it was one of those things that you could actually you would spend hours just crunching through different websites.
Yeah.
And this is basically before Google Flights and Skyscanner were actually able to do it for you quite quickly. But you start looking and actually trying to plot different routes, and there is not the differential in price at the moment. And I think if you come back to those days, that moment of sitting there for an entire evening, and just conjuring up some absolutely ludicrous route. and
it's playing the game of, though, because they'll announce a sale, and then I remember a couple of years ago,
flight prices go up in the sale.
We got one where it was before we got Black Friday deal, and then Robin was going, I'm looking for a similar amount of similar time of year. So, but she waited till Christmas. It actually gone up like £100 at Christmas compared to what we paid on Black Friday deal, even though it's their Christmas sale. Which
and that's the issue. It's as soon as you announce a sale, more people look. So anyone who does a dummy booking in order to book, the price goes up because it takes the flights out of the availability.
It's pricing now.
Right. And then you get, the upgrade costs, and one of the game with the upgrade costs is when you ring, and because I tend to book, as we said before, flight and car hire together, so you can't do an upgrade online. You have to ring up, and so I'll ring up and say I'm interested in what the upgrade prices would be for premium to club or whatever it is, or economy to premium, and they say, okay, let me check. And I my go-to is, can you check the price today and also the upgrade price on the day that I booked, because they can offer both prices. So if I booked on September the 29th and I'm ringing up on June the 3rd, they can check the upgrade prices on both dates. So it can end up, as particularly if you then getting the upgrade prices from the sale in September, or if you ring up for an upgrade price during the sale, sometimes you get a different price. So it is worth remembering when the sales are and checking the prices. And we've had it so it's cheaper to upgrade, and they've given us money back because they've done the upgrade on the day that I booked rather than the day that I phoned.
Okay,
that's
there you go.
Talking of prices, I thought it was quite useful to share this. I got some prices for next February half term.
Here we go.
Just to compare actually what was different between Orlando and Tampa.
You're going to cost me.
There was only £40 per person in it.
I wasn't going in February half term, but I might be now.
At that price, I was thinking the same, Claire.
This price does not include luggage. This was just standard flight price.
That's all right. I can do bag only.
And that's the price.
Is that BA? I get luggage. I get limited luggage.
BA, yeah, that's true. It was direct for BA and Virgin.
That's insane price.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's marathon weekend, isn't it? Probably. So yeah, you don't want to be there then.
That's why President's Day weekend, I think. So it's yeah.
Anyway,
you got your annual pass, Claire.
I've already got 2 trips before next summer.
Only 2.
Only 2 currently.
Yeah.
I know.
Do you know what? Tonight it's been a really good show, and it's made me want to book that next trip. I know it's grey and miserable outside at the minute. It's probably raining.
How many tips have you got booked, Ben?
Well,
you've got 2 booked currently, or have you only got 1 booked?
We've got 1 booked. We've got a cruise booked, but we haven't got the flight sorted yet for next summer.
So you've got 2 booked.
But in our heads, we've also got 2027 planned.
Oh no, I'm not even thinking about that.
Oh wow, good.
I've got another 2026 to book. I've got a summer 2026 to book, and then Christmas. Yeah, I've got a few more to sort out before then.
Yeah, we're thinking Christmas at some point, but that's going to be 2027 before we get that. See, this is by having Busy Vacation Club. We know our use year, which is starts in March.
That's
so we just plan how many points. Well, that's why we're using all our points in.
I mean, I think we should talk in a future show, maybe on a Wednesday, about renting DVC points as well, because obviously I got a cracking deal for Old Key West next summer, or next spring, May.
Yeah, I think we could look at actually how much it is to rent points versus actually booking direct for the hotel.
Significantly cheaper.
We did it last year for the cruise. The night before, we won 2 nights before.
Insane.
It was like, we'll stay at Pop. It was like, I don't know, £300. It was cost us £260 for 2 nights at Old Key West in August.
Right, so that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah,
I went to book because I was trying to work out where to stay next May. and I was going to book Pop, and it was £1,200 for 5 nights at Pop, which is what I'm paying in December because it's just after Thanksgiving. And I was like, no, there's no discount, so I'll just pay it. And then I went on to DVC rental store, and I've got a studio, preferred studio, Old Key West for $800.
Yeah,
compared to £1,250.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. So it's on the list. I definitely think we'll
add it to a conversation
I
for the future.
So. Definitely.
Yes, definitely. So, just a quick reminder for everyone watching: if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss our live shows, which are every Wednesday night at 8:30. And we do
you can listen to more of this scintillating content about car hire prices and airports.
Yeah, but the thing is,
people are interested in that.
Maybe they are. Maybe it's just
we'll always save someone a few quid somewhere. I think that's
I just think if anyone was to tune in for the first time, genuinely, we don't only talk about these things. We do talk about parks and exciting things, but you know, there's an element to getting a bargain that sits with all of us.
For anyone booking a first trip to Disney World, it is a minefield. And the thing is, a lot of the things, like, you realise, how much is this costing? And I know we'll cover at some point, there's been a lot of chatting recently of like dining plan and whether all of that's worth it. And we've done shows previously, and it's quite interesting how I feel the value of it isn't there anymore.
That would be an interesting one to do. And our friend of the show, Sean, who has been on before, actually messaged me the other day to say, would you, and this is a great conversation actually, would you move the date of your holiday back by 1 day in order to get, it would cost you £300 more, but you would get the free quick service plan for the entirety of your holiday?
I replied to him and said yes.
And I said no.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So that would be a great conversation to have.
Oh, yeah.
So don't forget, if you prefer listening on the go, the show will also be available on Friday on the podcast. So just search for the Great British Mickey Waffle, wherever you get your podcasts. So that brings us to the end of tonight's debate of Tampa or Orlando.
Is that a debate? I thought it was an advert for Tampa.
It will be when we tweet. When we put it on Twitter in a little while, it will be. Who knows? Well, maybe we'll get that. Maybe there'll be another pencil coming our way.
Hey, there we go. Yeah, maybe
fan club.
Maybe we should have done the opposite, because then we would have got some socks from MCO.
Oh, yeah,
those carpet socks.
Yeah, let's tweet them and tell them we're flagging up MCO as well.
So yeah, if you've enjoyed the show as much as I have, please give us a like, subscribe, and don't forget to share this show out. We'll be back next Wednesday with another live show. In the meantime, you can catch this episode. I've just repeated exactly what I've said. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.
I might have stopped coughing by next week as well.
Yeah,
we'll see you real soon.
Now my wheels in motion and my